Welcome to the Dogtor Bros, where we have an honest discussion around vet life in and out of the clinic. My name is Jeff. I'm a veterinary dermatologist from Louisville, Kentucky. I'm your doc of the day and your guide through this episode. And I'm here with my closest friends from vet school.
Hey, this is Chris. I'm a GP in North Carolina.
Hey, this is Brandon. I'm a small animal internal medicine veterinarian in Colorado.
And this is Adam. I'm a relief veterinarian in Louisville, Kentucky.
And this is Jeff again, and I am so excited to welcome back Dr. Julia Miller. So, Dr. Julia Miller is originally from upstate New York. She graduated from Cornell, then completed a large animal internship at the University of Georgia. Go Dogs! After this, she was a mixed animal vet in North and South Carolina and worked at a spay-neuter clinic before realizing her love for dermatology and going back to Cornell for her derm residency. After her residency, she stayed on at Cornell as faculty before deciding to venture out into private practice in Kentucky, here in Louisville with me. So welcome back, Dr. Miller.
Thank you again. And there's something I missed saying the first time, and I've been reminded to say it, which is go birds. I don't know when this is time machining. I'm sure. I'm not 100% sure when it'll be out. But hopefully by the time you all listen to this, the Philadelphia Eagles have won the Super Bowl.
Hopefully, time will tell.
Okay.
Adam's in charge. He's a great AV team over there. For our opening question, so little baby game here. It is nobody's saying anything. It is going to be a derm trivia, but it is a single derm trivia question. What did I say, Adam? So, Julia, you are allowed to answer last.
Oh.
So everybody else will get the question first. So I'll just make it easy peasy. I'm going to ask everybody a question. I'd like all of your answers first, and then I'll just tell you the answer. So, everybody ready?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I see only nods of yeses. So, for your derm of the day, it is ideal to check toxoplasmosis titers prior to prescribing which of the following antipyretic medications: Apoquil, steroids, Zenrelia, or Atopica. No, put your hand down, Julia.
Okay.
Atopica.
All right. Atopica.
Atopica?
Oh, well, Julia, would you like to answer?
Atopica!
It's Atopica!
That's a crossover med question.
It's a crossover. Do y'all check that over there in internal medicine?
Yeah, you could kill a cat if you're not careful.
Yes, I'm so proud. I don't know what y'all be studying. Literally everything on the inside. I'm an externist. I don't know. So, very good. I'm proud of all of you. Yes, it is ideal to check that. And the fun part about that is, ideally, when you're checking it, it is better if the cat has been exposed prior to them going on that medication because it is protective. So there's your fun fact for the day. All right. For this episode, the focus is going to be a little bit more on journals and how to critically review a journal topic and look at research that's been given to you and kind of decide, like, is this something that is good knowledge? And we're going to get a little bit into that. So not so much on how to run research. We'll cover that in another episode with a different special guest. But for today, we're looking at how do we break down and decide if research is good? So what's really nice is that we do have Dr. Miller here, who has been involved in some research, several different projects, has been published on several different things, and has also been a reviewer. So she's been on the other side as one of the people who when you send your project in, hopefully praying to the research gods that they will push it through a scientific project. One of the people gatekeeping you has absolutely been Dr. Julia Miller. So these questions will kind of be, I'm going to start off with a question specifically for Julia, but then we'll kind of just do questions for everybody because all of us being in vet med have had some experience with looking up research or dealing with research. So it's a little bit more academic, but we're all affected by it because it's how we do medicine. So first question for you, Julia. Since you've been a reviewer before, what is it like being on the other side?
Yeah, it's a big honor, honestly. When I've been asked to review papers, I've really taken it as a very serious task because it is up to me to critically look at that and decide whether it needs to, changes minor or major, or whether it really is not ready for publication. So first of all, I take it as a very big honor whenever I'm asked. So I make sure that I personally put a lot of time into that paper. And they ask you to review because essentially it comes from once you get published, they then see you as a subject material expert for whatever it was you published on. So I've gotten one of my publications is on culicoides hypersensitivity in horses. So I've now been asked to review a few papers that were similar to that or more large animal focused. And that they just kind of pick you out of a hat and then ask if you have the time and feel like you are a subject matter expert enough to review it. So certainly I made sure that I paid a lot of attention and took it as an honor and put a lot of effort into it so that I could make sure I did my duty as one of the peer reviewers.
And to my understanding, for most journals, that's an unpaid honor as well.
Yeah. Oh, it's such an honor. Absolutely. It's just for pride and that you're, promoting good literature and out there. But I mean, it is hours of your life for 100% free. You get not a credit for that. That's very true. Yeah.
This is Brandon here. I'm just kind of curious because just being on the side of submitting research for publication, we did submit my research that is involved with my credentialing for internal medicine to one journal, and it just seemed that the reviewer just did not fully understand the subject matter. Like, do you get asked to review stuff for things that just are way outside of your expertise?
I have been asked a few times to review things that I'm like, I don't even know where you got my name, other than like legitimately. I like, did you just Google doctor and I showed up? I wasn't sure. So yes, I do think that there are some times where they're kind of, I don't want to say scraping the bottom of the barrel, but I don't think you always are the subject matter expert. Now, you can always say no. So like when I've gotten those emails, I was just like, I know nothing about physics, so I'm going to say no on this paper. And I would hope that somebody else would say that, but you never know out there. It is an interesting thing. Peer-reviewed journal is the peer-reviewed aspect of that really is kind of fascinating and not as standardized as you might all want to believe, which is a little scary, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's just really quick. It's interesting because I'm assuming this with you guys as dermatologists. You see a paper, it doesn't really matter the journal, but the first author or the last author, like you see that name, you're like, oh yeah, this is going to be a good paper. Like, do y'all have the same kind of intuition when you're looking through?
Oh yeah, this is Jeff. I'd say number one, 100%. Like there are big names. I even did this when I was studying for boards. Like if I saw a big name on a journal and it said like, somebody who's famous for whatever, fungal research, or this person, like Petra Bizakova, huge name at NC State. Like if I saw her name in anything like autoimmune, well, honestly, she's a big name in general, huge researcher. But like if I saw that name, I'm like, I need to read this and prioritize it. And I was right when it came to boards time. But like you kind of know like what are the big names and like the almost like subspecialties they kind of get into that are really, really helpful. And another thing I was going to mention, Brandon, that you will probably experience. So I haven't been a reviewer yet, but I have said no a lot. Unfortunately, yet fortunately, like for the past year, I just like needed a break, and I just passed boards a couple of months ago, so I just needed to get through all of my stuff before I was ready to open up my heart to something new. And because research was hard, and writing that paper killed me for a while, so that was just a tough process. But my email has met every part of the internet for the amount of I get a couple of emails a week regarding research. There was a human GI conference that wanted me to come out, and I was like, I don't have any business being. It was in London, and I was like, I wanted to say yes, but I was like, what is a veterinarian going to do over there? I love One Health, but I was like, I don't think my specific project, which full disclosure was on the elemental diet from Purina. So like it was a GI food allergy study, but it wasn't like a GI study. Like it was, does this diet make you less itchy? And they were like, the emails are so good, Julie. I bet you could tell us too. Like it'll be some emails are quite literally, you can tell when they've copy pasted and just popped your name on the top and like esteemed person from the far reaches of veterinary medicine. We have found you and we were looking for you specifically. Can we please get you and your input on your whatever publication you have that they, I would guess, have not read? It looks like it's copy pasted in, and it's like, yeah, if you can get somebody, why not? But I'm just like, I'm always a little bit suspicious that I am not the esteemed person that they were looking. That we are not the droids that they were looking for.
This is Adam. So when you're going through an article, either from a reviewer standpoint or even as a clinician, what are some things you need to look for in terms of just the parameters of how the study was ran to kind of have an idea of, is this going to be a good sample or a good article or not?
Yeah, I can start. This is Julia. I wanted to say it. I wanted it. To say it. I think one of the biggest things, if you are reading or getting ready to do research, it's all about study design. It is 1,010% about study design, because if you didn't design that study right, you're going to spend all your blood, sweat, and tears getting data that is not going to freaking help you. So, when I did one of my big studies, I worked with a statistician in my study design. I worked with an epidemiologist, and that was the smartest thing I could have done, so that the kinks were worked out before the kinks even had a chance to come up. And that's something I recommend to everyone. There are a lot of people out there who think they know about study design and they don't. So find somebody who is really very educated, who's published a lot. I love epidemiologists, statisticians, people like that. They understand the number game, and then kind of go backwards, say, this is what I want to figure out, and then they'll help you create that good study design. So that's the biggest thing that I look for when I'm looking at a paper, is what is their study design. For example, if it's the kind of paper that needs a negative control, it needs a negative control. Implicit bias, placebo effect, these things are so real, and especially a lot in dermatology. If you show me that your topical medication makes the skin more moist, that's great, but also maybe water would have made the skin more moist. So, you have to have the right control, and I think that's really, really important. So study design and making sure that you have controls is critical for me.
Yeah, this is Jeff. And not only do I agree with that, but I remember specifically, you made me think of an example. I went to a talk at our World Derm Conference recently, and one of the topics was research and like how important it is to have like good controls and placebo effect, and how don't remember the exact presenter, but she showed us, basically, she broke down one study that had controls, one that didn't, and how both of them sounded really good. And when you compared them, the one that had no control meant virtually nothing after a control was added. And I was like mind blown, but it means like when you're looking for like things to decide if a study is good or not, you can't just take a study that doesn't have a control and assume that it's going to be good just because the results came out good, because it might not necessarily mean what you think it means.
And this is Brandon. I just wanted to add like little things you can look for too that are just kind of more like, I guess you would call them yellow flags, so to speak, would be like just where the research was done. So normally that's published on part of it. So if it's like an academic institution that's reputable, that's a simple thing. We talked about authors earlier. So if you are interested in a specific topic, and maybe you, like for example, with internal medicine, you read in the internal medicine textbooks that are up there, like one author wrote this thing. Like, oh, this is their research paper. Like that's a good sign that this is going to be good literature. But the more pertinent things are the ones that Julia and JT talked about.
Yeah, and this is Jeff again. And I want to kind of piggyback now off of Adam's question, and this is for everybody, like red flags and green flags kind of across the board. Like what are things, feel free to choose one or both, what are things that are like, this is just an excellent study, like things that pop into your mind that made you really confident in what you're reading, versus what are red flags where you're like, I'm going to finish reading this because I'm halfway through, but I'm worried it's not as valuable of a piece of literature as it is. And maybe we're just finishing out some research here.
I'm going to start, and sample size is huge for me. It is
Mhm.
so big. Now, we're limited in veterinary medicine because we can't do the metadata crazy stuff humans can do. But man, when I see a data set with 6, you can make statistics say anything you want about an N of 6, anything you want. Stats need numbers to have power. And if you do not have numbers, you do not have power, and you cannot trust your statistics. So do not give me a paper with 6. I'm not interested. And unfortunately, in vet med, that's a lot of our papers, and they often get published as quote unquote pilot studies. Man, if it says pilot study, to me, that just means that it's a very low number, and it probably means almost nothing. So, for me, numbers really do matter, and sample size is very important. Green flag for big sample size.
Yeah, this is Jeff, and I'll say, well, first of all, ouch, because my study is an open pilot study.
You're welcome.
but I'll say for what it's worth. Well, two interesting things there. So, like, I did do a residency study, and my job was within 3 years, design a study, put out the research. That doesn't mean it wasn't good research. So I did meet with my statistician in advance. We found like what numbers would bring power to my study. So mine is good, but it wasn't like a double green flags, double blinded crossover study brings much more power to it. My diet was not compared to other proven diets from other studies to compare like how well it does. But I was just trying to answer one small question. And you know what? I had 44 dogs, which was big for food allergy, which was nice. But I think Julie is absolutely right. Like the population size compared to like some human studies, I'd get blown out of the water to smithereens. So if you compare it to, you do have to, what I want to say, just decide like how you approach them based on what we can do in vet med, because we are limited. But yeah, I wish it was bigger, but also sometimes you do have to take residency research with a grain of salt, and that's okay. I'm a researcher, but I'm not a researcher,
This is Chris. So I'm trying to figure out how to do anything. I'm in GP, and when we get journals, when should we like use, or like if it only had 6, should we even apply that to our practice and like, hey, we should do this in practice, or like kind of think about it more, or should we wait till there's bigger studies and before we kind of change how we're practicing medicine?
Man, Chris, that is such a really good question. So, like when I was in academia, they want us to teach to the white paper, right? Because we love research and that's important. But I'm going to tell you, as somebody who was a GP, I think anecdote and experience matter. I think your experience with treating disease X is more important than a white paper that comes out with an N of 6 that says you should treat that this way. You know what I mean? I really do think that experience and anecdote matters. And I don't know that anybody should change how they're doing things based on one single paper, even a paper with big numbers. I think that we all need to take that research, think about it, decide if we can and want to apply that to the way we practice, and see if it fits with our world. One thing that I do recommend, though, if you are a GP out there trying to read some papers, I love that idea, but try to make sure you read the whole paper, because if you just read the abstract and the conclusions from the abstract, they can be remarkably misleading. They'll have a sentence in the conclusion that's like, and this is why this drug is very effective in treating atopy. But then when you actually read the discussion, it's like it was barely better than water. You know what I mean? And then they're making a conclusion that it's crazy, but that actually happens. So if you are out there, take the time to read the whole paper is something I highly recommend to you. Even just read the whole discussion, because you'd be surprised what pops up in a conclusion that maybe shouldn't be in that conclusion. But I don't encourage anybody completely revolutionize the way they practice just based on one white paper. Add little tidbits that make sense to you and try to incorporate it into the way you're already practicing with the experience that's very, very valid that you have.
Oh, that's great advice.
Yeah, this is Jeff, and I'll say I'm not of the exact same mind, but I think we'd come to the same conclusion in that, like, if you do read a paper that you find quite groundbreaking and you're into it, I wouldn't shift everything I'm doing, but I think it's okay to be like, you know what, this was really good. I like the points you're trying, and try out something new. I think that's what I like about papers, because in GP, I certainly read less papers, but I'm looking for, A, is it a bigger study size? do they have multiple groups, controls? Ideally, if it's perspective, and we can talk about the faults with the retrospectives versus perspectives, but like, is this so big that I need to change everything I'm doing, or can I adjust what I'm doing for a couple of cases and see if it makes sense before I change everything in my life and my entire practice about it? But I'm open to it because I'm always looking for like, how can I be better, do better, be more efficient, and do better medicine. And I agree, Julia, like it's so important to like look for things like the words statistically significant and then decide like if that matters to you. So when you're reading papers or just an abstract, sometimes things can be phrased so nicely to come out like in a nice little package, little present for you with a dot on top. So you do have to really get into a paper. And I would say if you read one where it's sounding pretty good, that's a great time to at least read the discussion and go through, see what else makes sense.
Yeah, this is Brandon. I was going to say I think of the abstract as kind of like the hook. You're like, okay, there's like this, and this. This looks really good. Let's just dive a little bit deeper. So that's how I think of abstracts, especially if they make some claim in the abstract that's like, this is too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As we come close-ish to the end, I'll ask one more on-topic question before we hit our outro. And I wanted to ask, so just in general, and anybody can answer again, when we're being critical, being critical is good and being constructive is good, and maybe this is it depends question, but where do y'all draw the line as far as limitations a paper has and use that to determine like what's good as far as what a study can do, because there's so many different things to approach in a paper?
That is such a tough question to answer in some ways, Jeff.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I will say even, I don't mean to poo-poo on the little pilots because they have a place too, right? I think that we have to do studies like that to even open the door. And residents need research projects. People that are faculty members, faculty members trying to get tenure need research projects. Like we need the little guys as much as we need the big guys in truth. I just kind of approach some of the littler studies, I guess, as a little bit more like, well, there's more to come. I'm very intrigued by what you've pointed out, but I'd really like to see more before I make big changes. So, I still think it's important to read the smaller studies. I think it's very important that they're out there and they still do inform where we are, because maybe that study opened a door to a much bigger study that was able to be done and grab some people in that were interested for a cool multi-centric study. So I think they all certainly have a place in our research world.
How many deserve to be thrown in the trash?
Well, there's a couple.
Only?
Yeah, there's like I think I agree as well. But I think the overarching point, most research is worth reading. You should approach it critically and then decide for yourself, does it make sense for me to make adjustments or to wait for the next one to come. If the one you're reading deserves the recycle for now, that's okay.
I think it's a great way to put it, Jeff. And I also want to put this out there. Watch who funded that study. Mm. You always need to watch who funds a study. It just needs to be something that's in the back of your mind. Companies can fund beautiful studies that prove that their product is fantastic, but I'm always paying attention to who funds a study as well.
Yeah, this is Jeff again. That's also a good point because depending on the research, you never know what research was not published or what didn't come out because it was made by a company. And company doesn't mean bad, but you should be aware. My study was funded by Purina, and that's all up in the study. It wasn't like a secret or anything. And I knew from the jump that regardless of the results, it was being published. That was one reason that I wanted to work with them. Which is really nice. So as we come towards the end of this episode, and just before we hit our outro question, number one, thank you again, Dr. Miller, for joining us. Is there anywhere that our listeners can follow you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on Instagram at Dr. J Animal Dermatologist. And then I like to speak kind of in multiple different places around the country. So if you see any lectures and you see my crazy little face on that bulletin, come on by. I guarantee you'll have a good time. I try to make the derm fun while you learn about it. So I'd love to see you. Stop on by.
Very good. Again, 10 out of 10. Just like I told you guys last time, you absolutely should go see her speak at least once in your life. Everybody should experience that. She's a good time. So, outro question for everybody. Philosophical question. A stranger gives you $1,000 and you have to spend it by the end of the day or it's gone. What do you buy first?
This is Brandon. Easy answer. A new snowboard.
This is Chris. My fun answer, like Brandon, would be a mountain bike. But if we're being like
Expensive for mountain bikes.
like they can be up to tens of thousands, like crazy.
Oh,
Yeah. Like a decent mountain bike is pretty expensive. An entry level one is like $500 to $1,000.
Oh,
Like a good entry level, not talking like the Walmart special, like talking one that won't fall apart when you go down the mountain. But if I want to be like financially smart, I'd probably say like invested in something. But it's two different ways to think about it. I said finance first.
Boo.
This is Adam. $1,000. That should probably be enough to take the kids out to eat or something. So I don't know.
Everybody gets extra canes.
Yeah, get the mozzarella sticks. Come on, bring them out.
Yeah, bring that dessert menu right over here. God. This is Jeff. I was going to say a plane ticket. I'm getting out of here. Immediately beach.
I love that. I am going to buy a piece of jewelry. I don't know what yet, but I'm going to buy some ridiculous piece of jewelry that I never would have bought for myself otherwise.
You deserve it.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for being here.
Thank you once again for joining us on the Dogtor Bros.
If you would like to support us, please share this episode with others who may be interested in today's topic and leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to your podcasts.
Would you like to influence our next episode? We love hearing your opinions and thoughts. Your comments may be our next topic.
Please leave us suggestions via email at thedoctorbros@gmail.com, DM us at thedoctorbros on Instagram, or leave us comments on our posts. Again, this is Brandon. You can reach me at Dr. Mason IM on Instagram.
And this is Chris, and you can reach me on Instagram at dr.chrishernandez.
And this is Jeff. You can find me on Instagram at dermdoctorjeff, DermDogtorJeff.
And this is Adam. You can reach me on Instagram at DrAdamDVM. That's DrAdamDVM.